Hello and welcome to NC Continental Prime, reaching you live from our studios in Lagos, Nigeria. I am Benga Aborowa, and these are the headlines of this hour. Zambia's founding president, KENNETH KAUNDA, dies at 97. Police fire tear gas as crowds converge to welcome Ivory Coast former leader, LAURENT GBAGBO. And Tanzania set to join COVAX vaccine sharing facility. We'll bring you all the details shortly. The news begins in Southern Africa, where former Zambia President KENNETH KAUNDA is dead. KK, as it was popularly known, was being treated for pneumonia at the Maina Soko Medical Center, a military hospital in the capital, Lusaka. The 97-year-old was one of the last surviving figures from the anti-colonial struggle of the 1950s. The liberation hero ruled from 1964 after the Southern African nation won its independence from Britain.
1924 at Lubwa Mission in the northern province of the Republic of Zambia, Kenneth David Kaunda became the first president of the Republic of Zambia, leading from October 1964 to 1991. Affectionately known as KK, Kaunda was the youngest of 8 children born to immigrant parents from Malawi. He was an arrowhead in the struggle for independence from British rule. He attended Munali Training Center in Lusaka from August 1941 to 1943. He also followed in his parents' footsteps and became a teacher. First in colonial Zambia, and then in the mid-1940s, he moved to what is now Tanzania. His father was a minister and teacher who left Malawi in 1904, and his mother was the first African woman to teach in colonial Zambia. Displeased with Harry Nkubula's leadership of the Northern Rhodesian African National Congress, he broke away and founded the Zambian African National Congress, later becoming the head of the United National Independence Party, UNIP. Kaunda started playing a continental role in 1963 when he became president of the Pan-African Freedom Movement for East, Central, and Southern Africa. After Zambia's independence, he served as chairperson of the Organization of African Unity from 1970 to 1971, and again from 1987 to 1988. In June 1959, Kaunda was sentenced to 9 months imprisonment, which he spent first in Lusaka, then in Salisbury. While Kaunda was in prison, some nationalists broke away from the ANC. He maintained his support for the liberation movement despite Pretoria's policy aimed at destabilization of governments in the region. In 1991, he founded the Kenneth Kaunda Peace Foundation, dedicated to the establishment of peace and conflict resolution on the continent. Having lost a son to the disease, Kaunda devoted parts of his life to fighting HIV and AIDS in Africa. In 2007, he received the Mbutu Award. Kaunda was briefly stripped of Zambian citizenship in 1999, but the decision was overturned the following year. At 97, he was the oldest living former Zambian president. On June 14, 2021, Kaunda was admitted to a Lusaka military hospital to treat an undisclosed medical condition. And the great icon took a bow to death at the age of 97. Rest on, Kenneth Kaunda.
Now, joining us live in NC Continental Prime this evening is Zambian journalist Lydia Makina. She joins us from Livingstone in Zambia. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening to you, Lydia. So what's the mood like in Zambia following the loss of a closest former president, KENNETH KAUNDA?
It's really a disheartening thing for all Zambian citizens, and it is a bad thing that we have lost a father of the nation, the first Republican president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. So we say that our fathers are really mourning him as he was a great leader that took them to school. They had free education under his leadership, and he was a leader that brought peace and unity to Zambia. He had a slogan that goes, Tiende pamoja, Numsima umoja, which means we move together with one heart. He was a leader that brought peace and unity to all Zambians. Zambia has got 72 tribes. Yes, he brought peace and unity to each and everyone as one Zambia, one nation to all the Zambians. So it's really a sad news, and it's a sad situation in Zambia right now. And we have heard that the Zambian president, Dr. Edgar Changalungu, has declared 21 days of national mourning. So it's really a devastating situation for Zambia because we have lost a great leader.
A great leader indeed, and a great loss for Africa, not just Zambia, for the whole of Africa.
Yes,
now, let's talk about the current president, Edgar Lungu. Has he released any official statements? What's the president saying on this development?
Yes, he has. He has passed a condolence message to the family, and he has also declared the 21 days of national mourning for over the death of Dr. Kenneth KAUNDA. So he was a leader that was in good relationship with all the Zambian presidents that took over after his leadership. They had a good relationship with the late president, Dr. Frederick Chiluba and Dr. Mwanawasa and Pia Bozanvanga and late Michael Chilufyasata and even the current president, Dr. Edgar Changalungu. So he was a man that was full of love and good leadership, and he never disregarded any of the leaders that took over after his leadership.
Now, Lydia, Dr. Kaunda was a giant when it comes to politics in Africa. In what ways do you think he'll be remembered? What's his legacy?
He was a man full of peace and unity. He will be remembered as a man that brought peace and unity to all Zambians. Not just Zambian, but SADC countries at large. Because we see that with him, peace matters most and unity matters most. And he was one president that hated tribalism. We see that 72 tribes, yet he said it's one Zambia, one nation. So to him, it was never like which tribe do you belong to. Instead, he told each and everyone to be one. And he was a man that can be remembered as African because he helped a lot of African countries get independence. He helped Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, Angola, and even Malawi. So this is a man that is being remembered not just to Zambian, but also SADC countries. So we have really lost a great hero as Africa.
Yes, indeed, an Iroko tree has fallen and Africa has lost a giant in Dr. Kenneth KAUNDA. Thank you very much, Lydia Makina, the journalist, talking to us from Livingstone in Zambia about the development, the passing of Zambia's first president, Dr. Kenneth KAUNDA. Moving on, in East Africa, Somalia, 7 Al-Shabaab militants have been killed by Somali National Army backed by African Union mission in an operation in Mahas town in the central region of Hiran. Governor of Mahas, Mumin Mohammed, said that the joint operation was conducted in Mahas and Mataban towns targeting Al-Shabaab fighters. Al-Shabaab militants were chased out of the capital, Mogadishu, in August 2011 by the Somali army and AMISOM forces, but they still control swaths of rural areas in central and southern regions, conducting ambushes and planting landmines. Staying in East Africa, Ethiopia's Ministry of Foreign Ministry has expressed regret over the African Union's unilateral decision to appoint a panel to investigate alleged human rights violations in Tigray. The ministry says it is regrettable to note that the African Union Commission on Human and People's Rights made a unilateral announcement on the establishment of a commission of inquiry, which is completely outside the scope of the invitation by the government and lacks legal basis. It said the AU Rights Commission has not followed the right procedure that would allow the necessary conditions for an investigation. But Ethiopia says it had in March expressed its willingness to engage the Commission for joint investigation over the situation in Tigray. And now to West Africa, where police fired tear gas to disperse hundreds of supporters of Ivory Coast ousted President Laurent Gbagbo as crowds massed to welcome him home on Thursday from 10 years of exile. Gbagbo, while wearing a white T-shirt and a face mask, waved as he boarded a plane back to Ivory Coast and Brussels as a small group of supporters applauded. Videos shared on social media sites showed. He was ousted from power in 2011 and sent to the International Criminal Court in The Hague to face war crime charges, and he was acquitted 8 years later. The 76-year-old's return comes after protracted negotiations between his camp and the government, which delayed granting him a passport until after the 2020 elections. Meanwhile, Gbagbo has said little about what political role he might play back home. He retains firm support among his base of supporters, particularly in the south and west. Nigeria's federal government has approved efforts aimed at reducing road crashes in the country. Nigeria's Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, while speaking to newsmen after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting, which held at the nation's capital, Abuja, says the recent data from the Federal Road Safety Corps has confirmed the escalating number of deaths recorded from road crashes nationwide. The minister blamed overspeeding, a loss of control during driving, wrongful overtaking, and tire blowouts for the crashes, saying they are responsible for over 70% of accidents recorded. It said the federal government will focus its accident prevention measures on the 3 major highway corridors with the highest number of crashes.
We saw that for the month of January, the number of people who died from road crashes exceeded the combined numbers of people who died from malaria and COVID together for the same month. And whilst malaria and COVID were receiving national concerted attention, perhaps it was necessary to bring this to the attention of government as part of our strategy for protecting life and property. My office has asked the FRSC to focus on 3 roads: the Lagos-Ibadan Highway, the Abuja-Kano Highway, and the Abuja-Kefi-Lafia Highway, which showed from the data we studied that they had the cumulative highest number of accidents. If we reduce accidents in those three main highways, we would have really dented the number.
The Northern Consensus Movement has placed a $100 million bounty on the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. The group, while speaking to newsmen in Abuja, says it is willing to pay the sum to any person or group that produces Nnamdi Kanu alive. The leader of the movement, Ibrahim Mohammed, was also the president of the Arewa Traders Association, says Kanu is responsible for hate speeches and instigating Southeasterners to attack persons from northern extraction and destroying their property. Mohammed also issued a 30-day ultimatum to state governors where attacks against northerners have taken place in the past to ensure they adequately compensate the victims and their families.
Northern Consensus Movement, in collaboration with these organizations, are hereby declaring Nnamdi Kanu, the spiritual leader of IPOB and ECN, wanted for crimes against humanity and for instigating the innocent northerners residing in southeastern Nigeria via his hate speech. We are placing a bounty of 100 million naira. We are placing a bounty of 100 million naira as an offer to anyone who can produce Nnamdi Kanu alive, hale and hearty. We are passing this message to the federal government, to the eastern and western state governors, that every northerner that has been killed, every property of any northerner that has been destroyed, we are saying that the government of those states, that those incidents happen, must pay our people. We are given a 30 days ultimatum. From today, we are giving those state governors 30 days within which we are expecting them to act. If they don't act within 30 days, we will act.
The Commissioner of Police for Lagos State, South West Nigeria, Commissioner of Police Hakeem Odumosu, has again reassured Lagosians that robbery in traffic will soon fizzle out and become history. This is just as the police command has deployed its human and material resources to tackle the menace headlong. The Commissioner of Police, while giving the assurance in his Ikeja office, confirmed the arrest of not less than 127 suspected traffic robbers at various locations within Lagos State from March 2021 till date. Commissioner of Police Hakeem Odumosu strongly attributed successes recorded in the fight against crimes and criminality in the state to training and retraining of police officers and constructive collaboration with the public and other security agencies in the state. On his part, the Police Public Relations Officer for Lagos State, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, said the command has also commenced the training of police operatives attached to the newly formed anti-traffic robbery squad to tackle the menace of robbery in traffic.
This sector of police personnel will be embarking on another set of training in Lagos State as part of the command's efforts to tackle most of these crimes and criminality in Lagos State, particularly robbery and traffic. The Commissioner of Police recently formed a special squad to tackle robbery and traffic in Lagos State, and some of these personnel will be going on training, mobile training, combat training, musketry, range practice, and the likes, for them to have a very formidable squad to tackle some of these crimes in the state. The Commissioner of Police has also tried his best possible to make sure that senior officers, including area commanders, divisional police officers, tactical commanders, sectional heads, are duly trained in this regard. He wants everybody in the command to be on the same page as per operational activities and engagement of the Lagos State Police Command. We are very optimistic that very soon traffic robbery and the likes will be visual out in the state and will be a thing of the past in Lagos State. We want to assure Lagosians to please support the police and always confirm stories before circulating them.
Coming up on NC Continental Prime, 1 ton of cocaine seized from a Liberia-registered ship by custom enforcement officers. We'll bring you details of the story and more after the break. Stay with us. One ton of cocaine has been seized from a Liberia-registered ship by custom enforcement officers at the Mersin port in southern Turkey. This is the largest amount of cocaine ever seized in the country. The country's trade minister applauded the General Directorate of Customs Protection Units for the seizure. The unit launched the operation following a tip-off that a ship which sailed from Ecuador was carrying 1 ton of cocaine. According to the customs unit, the drug was stashed in 1,000 packages in banana containers. A deputy police chief of Mersin, Tihan, noted that the surveillance operations coordinated with the customs protection took around 1 month. The Seychelles Blue Economy Department will be looking at ways to recycle waste from the sea and plastic bottles littering the environment on the 2 newly signed financial agreements with France. The two agreements, worth a total of €21,600, are part of the grant from the Solidarity Fund for Innovative Projects, Civil Societies, Francophonie and Human Development. They were signed on Wednesday by the Seychelles Principal Secretary for Blue Economy, KENNETH, and Dominic Mas, the French ambassador to the island nation. Rakombo told reporters that the agreement will be for two specific projects. He said that the second project is for the collection of plastic bottle waste from the environment and its conversion into fuel. So some health news now. Tanzania is working to join the COVAX global vaccine sharing facility and will sit down with aid agencies next week to plan its first national COVID-19 inoculation campaign. This is according to the World Health Organization officials. Since taking office in March, a new president, Samia Suluhu Hassan, has sought to gradually bring Tanzania into line with global public standards for tackling COVID-19. The country is one of only 4 in Africa that have yet to start vaccination campaigns, according to the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Staying in East Africa, Kenya's Ministry of Health has announced stringent measures to help curb the spread of coronavirus in 13 counties located in the western parts of the country that have been designated as the new coronavirus hotspots. Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Mutahi Kagwe, says amongst the revised measures to halt the spread of the virus in the 13 counties include extended night curfew, ban on public gatherings and in-person worship. Night curfews in the 13 counties that currently account for 60% of the national COVID-19 caseload will be observed from 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. local time effective Friday. Kagwe says proximity to the Ugandan border could be fueling the infections in western Kenyan counties, adding that all cross-border cargo drivers will be required to possess a valid certificate indicating a negative COVID-19 test. The Central African country, Equatorial Guinea, says it has purchased more Chinese Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccines, which are ready to be shipped to the country. On February the 10th, a batch of China-donated Sinopharm vaccines arrived in Malabo, the capital of Equatorial Guinea, making it the first African country that received COVID-19 vaccine aid from China. Equatorial Guinea President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo later received his doses of the Chinese vaccine and appealed to the entire population to do the same, as vaccination helps avoid new deaths linked to the coronavirus. To date, Equatorial Guinea has confirmed 8,662 COVID-19 cases. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, has revealed that countries on the continent have now acquired around 59.9 million COVID-19 vaccines so far. The Africa CDC, the specialized healthcare agency of the African Union, said around 0.79% of Africa's population have received a full vaccine regimen. 5 countries, namely Morocco, Egypt, Nigeria, Ethiopia and South Africa, have acquired and administered the most doses of COVID-19 vaccines to their respective populations. As of Thursday, the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Africa had reached over 5 million, with 136,000 deaths and 4,558,435 recoveries, according to the agency. South Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, Ethiopia, and Egypt are the countries with the most cases in the continent, according to the African Center for Disease Control. As Africa joins the rest of the world to commemorate Day to combat desertification and drought, experts in the continent explained its impact on Africa's natural habitat. News Central's Ololade has been following this story and compiled this report.
World Day to combat desertification and drought is celebrated each year on June 17. This day is set aside to raise awareness regarding the prevention of the desertification of the soil and the restoration of degraded land. With this year's theme being Restoration, Land Recovery, we build back with healthy land. African environmental enthusiasts explained the significance of the day while emphasizing the impact of desertification on Africa's national and food security.
Virtually 1/3 of the Central Plateau in Africa is over 600 million years old. And that's also one of the major challenges we have as well. You know, desertification poses a threat to the state's military capacity for defense in some issues. You could imagine in situations where we have an influx of refugees in a particular area. There are times whereby the state could be overstretched, and that could pose an enormous challenge in so when it comes to security as well.
On the possible solutions to ending desertification and drought in West Africa, particularly Nigeria, experts have this to say.
A day like this would actually help remind those in power of their shortcomings and the need to really, propose policies, formulate policies that will help address the menace that we face collectively.
Tackling one of the greatest challenges of our time, which is acting against desertification, is kickstarting a positive cycle that will ensure the land is able to provide for the present and future generation. Omolola Ololade, reporting for News Central.
Still ahead in NC Continental Prime, United Nations warns that drought has the potential of becoming the next pandemic to hit the world. We'll bring you details of the story and more after this break. World Wrap, the United Nations top official for disaster reduction, says drought is on the verge of becoming the next pandemic, calling for concerted action and new transboundary alliances to tackle the growing global threat. The appeal from Mami Mizutori, the United Nations Secretary-General Special Representative for Disaster Risk Reduction, came as the UN agency she heads warned that drought affects more people than any other slow-onset disaster. In a special report on drought by the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, the agency insists that its impact is widespread and underestimated on society's ecosystems and economies.
Next 80 years, 129 countries will experience increased exposure to drought due to climate change alone. An additional 23 countries due to population growth, and another 38 due to the interaction of population growth and climate change impact. Drought can be the next catastrophe, and there is no vaccine. If we do not act now, our exposure to drought risk threatens to derail our progress towards the achievement of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development.
We are seeing in places such as, and these cases are within the report, such as the Danube Basin, droughts, an increasing number of them affecting irrigation, hydropower generation, and most critically, transportation. And we saw that on the Rhine as well itself. The modernized view of drought is that it is not simply agricultural. That in fact, the dimensions that we're seeing, and especially in so-called developed regions, are certainly the impact on the ability to export crops and services, but also the direct impacts on the functioning and the supply chains on which all societies rely.
United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has welcomed the joint statement on strategic stability issued by the presidents of the Russian Federation and the United States following yesterday's summit in Geneva, Switzerland, especially the reaffirmation of the adherence to the principle that a nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. In a statement read by the UN Secretary-General spokesperson Stefan Dujarric, Guterres welcomed the intention of the Russian Federation and the United States to engage in an integrated bilateral strategic stability dialogue.
Secretary General welcomes a joint statement on strategic stability issued by the presidents of the Russian Federation and the United States following yesterday's summit in Geneva, especially the reaffirmation of their adherence to the principles that a nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. Furthermore, the Secretary General welcomes the intention of the Russian Federation and the United States to engage in an integrated bilateral strategic stability dialogue, and he expresses his hope that this would lead to concrete arms control measures, including further reductions in the size of the world's nuclear arsenals.
Business news. Air Botswana has appointed its finance director, Peter Gomotso, to the International Air Transport Association's Industry Financial Advisory Council until 2022. An Air Botswana news release states that IATA, a trade association for world airlines, represents at least 290 airlines. Gomotso will form part of the IFAC team that plays an advisory role to the Board of Governors. The IATA team also plays an advisory role to the Board of Governors and its Director General on matters concerning industry financial services. The team also works on the standards and policy aspects related to the international air transport. Esek Gomotso is a finance executive and chartered professional accountant with over 20 years of experience. Still in the region, the OPEC Fund for International Development, OFID, has signed a $20 million loan agreement with the Gambia to co-finance the expansion of the Bertil-Hadin Highway. The upgrading of the road infrastructure will improve safety, reduce travel time and cost, and facilitate access to marketplaces, social amenities and jobs for more than 520,000 people in the Greater Banjul area. Gambia's capital, Banjul, has experienced significant population growth in recent years. However, the city's road transport infrastructure remains underdeveloped, resulting in travel bottlenecks and high transport cost. The 22-kilometer-long Bertil-Hadin Highway is an important stretch that provides a link between Old Jeshwang and the Banjul International Airport, vital to connectivity of the area. Lope Adeleru Balogu is standing by for more business stories.
And this is business on NC Continental Prime. More markets are opening up for Nigeria's crude oil. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, through its subsidiary Duke Oil, has sealed a pact to supply 30,000 barrels per day of crude oil to Indonesia's State Oil Corporation and the Indian Oil Corporation. The development will strengthen the nation's revenue outlook and is coming at a time when the oil industry is challenged by volatility and uncertainty. About $70 million should be added to Nigeria's coffers in the 2021 trading year with this deal. Duke Oil is also expected to expand into bitumen and base oil importation before the end of this trading year. Total has awarded a $1.9 billion contract to construct its Lake Albert oil production project in Uganda to a consortium led by Chinese and British firms. The transaction takes care of the main surface facilities, engineering, procurement, supply, construction, and commissioning contracts, as well as 5 drilling packages. Total reports that the companies that won the deal include Sinopec International Petroleum Corporation, CB&I UK Limited, Schollenberger Oilfield Eastern Limited, and a number of others. Pacer Power Limited, a payment services provider, has been granted authorization by the Central Bank of Kenya to provide payment gateway services. A payment gateway is defined as an online payment service that can be integrated into an e-commerce platform. It is devised as a channel to make and receive payments. Once posted, the customer proceeds to make a payment, which gets transferred from the buyer's account to the seller's. Pacer Power was granted this license in compliance with the National Payment Systems Act of 2011 and the MPS regulations of 2014. South African telecommunications giant MTN is expanding its mobile coverage across Africa. This is being done by expanding the radio access network, which connects individual devices to other parts of a network through radio connections. MTN said it aimed to roll out the Open RAN by the end of 2021 with its partners, namely Voyage, India's Tech Mahindra, and 3 US-based firms. The previous connectivity relied on equipment from Nokia, Ericsson, and Huawei, making it difficult to mix. MTN explained that this would reduce power consumption and emissions by modernizing its radio access networks using Open RAN, supporting its target to achieve net zero emissions by 2040. The board of directors of the African Development Bank have approved an €83 million loan to finance the second phase of Egypt's electricity and green growth support program. The funding is part of the bank's budget support to the Egyptian government to strengthen its electricity infrastructure. This is expected to bolster the private sector and accelerate recovery from the COVID-19 crisis. The program seeks to enhance the power sector's financial sustainability, governance, and operations, and also advance the provision of clean, reliable energy to drive green growth. Egypt's successful reforms in the sector have led to greater private investments in utility-scale renewable energy projects. In addition to the African Development Bank, the French Development Agency and the Japan International Cooperation Agency have also provided financial support to Egypt's electricity and green growth support program. And that's it on business on NC Continental Prime. I'm Tolulokwe Adelere Balogun. I'll see you 11 a.m. West African time with Business Edge.
New Central Sports anchor Udoka Njoku has more on the latest sporting stories across the continent. Hi Udoka, where do we pick up from?
Well, we're starting off with the Uganda men's sevens national, talking about rugby now. Following a number of positive COVID-19 results determined during scheduled arrival testing, the Uganda men's sevens national team has been withdrawn from the World Rugby Sevens Olympic Games repechage tournament. Now, the tournament was scheduled for June 18th to the 20th, and all Uganda players have been in strict isolation since arrival, and the delegation will continue to follow the isolation quarantine process as determined by the Monaco authorities' public health guidelines. Now, consequently, in line with the tournament rules, all pool stage matches involving Uganda will be recorded as a bye for their opponents in Pool B. The remaining Pool B teams are France, Chile, Hong Kong, and Jamaica. Moving over to tennis now, the U.S. Tennis Association announced that this year's U.S. Open will be the first Grand Slam to allow 100% fan capacity since the coronavirus pandemic. The U.S. Open is the year's fourth and final Grand Slam tournament and is scheduled to be held at the Flushing Meadows in New York from the 30th of August to September 12. Spectators were banned from last year's event due to the pandemic, with several high-profile male and female players withdrawing due to safety concerns. The announcement came in the wake of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo on Tuesday, saying many of the state's remaining social distancing rules would be eased because 70% of its adults have received at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. The French Open allowed more than 5,000 spectators into the Roland Garros grounds each day during the first week, and that rose to more than 13,000 people by its conclusion. Meanwhile, the Wimbledon's men and women's singles finals will be played with full crowds in attendance on center court. And Nigeria, talking about athletics now, the president of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, Engineer Ibrahim Shehu Gusau, is hopeful that some Nigerian athletes will be able to qualify for the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo as the national trials holds at the Yaba College of Education, College of Technology Sports Complex. Now, the national trials objective is to ensure qualification for the Games. Now, some of the athletes spoke about the event and what they hope to achieve.
You know, I've been preparing all season for this moment, so to be able to come out here and to compete my best with my teammates, I'm excited. So I've been preparing very well, so I'm excited to see how I go. Yeah, so being able to come here and hopefully come out with a PB with the qualification for Tokyo, it's an amazing opportunity. So you know, seeing how hard everyone has worked for this moment, leading up to 2021 Tokyo, it's amazing. So I'm excited to come out here, get a personal best, and qualify for Tokyo.
It feels great. I've been doing great this past season. I've competed numerous times for Team Nigeria, so I'm happy to compete in my first Olympic trials for Nigeria. I recently broke the national record for Nigeria in the women's discus with the 63.30 earlier in April, and I'm just working to build on that. I've been pretty consistent in practice, so I'm hoping to just keep pushing on forward and breaking new records at this stadium and just progressing and getting ready to punch my ticket for the Olympic team. For the Tokyo Olympics, I'm hoping to have beat my national record for the women's discus. It's turned at the 63.30. Also beat that national record for Africa, all of Africa, which is 64 meters. And additionally, make it to the finals and get one of those gold medals for Team Nigeria. So that's the ultimate goal, and that's ultimately what I'm working towards.
Honestly, I just want to give it my best. I'm not exactly peaking to throw far here because I've already thrown the A qualifier. So my preparation is now focused on my European season and actually going to the Olympics because I've taken care of what I needed to do. I even threw the qualifier in July of 2019. So aiming for the A standard is no longer on my radar. But still, out of respect and in order to do everything I can possibly do to qualify officially for the team, I'm here to compete and give my best. So whatever comes, I'll be grateful for it. But my focus comes in a few months.
Most of the athletes looking forward to qualifying for the Olympic Games, which is scheduled to hold in a couple of days. And of course, we're looking forward to also see if the organizers are still going to continue with the games, because they have assured us that there will be safety for all the athletes that will be coming to participate in the games. And just so you know, Rafael Nadal, the world number 3 when it comes to the world of tennis, has said he will not be playing at the Olympic Games. So the fans of Rafael Nadal will not be seeing Nadal play in that tournament. But that's a wrap on Sports Update on NC Continental Prime. I am Udoka Njoku, and I hand over to Benga Aborowa for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much, Udoka. Now, in Jamiangu tonight, Bernard Kede takes us around some beaches in Lagos, Nigeria, and shows us how some people plan to use tourism to do more for the community.
Tourists are always attracted to beaches, no matter how far the beaches are or how small they are. But the problem with tourism and beaches is the tourists often leave a lot of garbage behind, like the heaps of rubbish you see beside me. Well, a group of people have decided that tourism can do more, and that leaving a lot of garbage behind should be a thing of the past. With several kilometers of sandy beaches stretching across the coastlines of Lagos and its adjoining islands, it is no surprise that people are drawn from all over the world. But sadly, tourists sometimes leave their mark. But it's not just the filth that is an issue. There are locals who reside in these communities where the beaches and other tourist attractions are situated, but unfortunately, they hardly benefit from what is generated from their land.
Kingfisher is a tourism company, primarily. We seek opportunities that help us to engage local communities. And the whole idea is to see how we can promote a mantra that says tourism can do more. Let's use tourism to solve problems, societal challenges, things around the environment, nature, and things related to that.
Koyejo isn't the first person in Lagos to engage in beach cleanups or ecotourism. So we asked him what sparked his interest in ecotourism.
If you look at the country, there are a lot of opportunities in tourism. We have a lot of interesting places, but there's a lot of disconnect. And what I mean by disconnect is these places are not well set up, and you have people that live around these places. Our view is that when you're developing tourism, you have to carry the host communities along, which is a critical part of ecotourism. You have to ensure that the communities can feel like they're part of the initiative.
Sometimes, even doing good deeds come with challenges, especially when the good deeds seem strange to the people in question.
Koyejo explains some of the brick walls he and his team had to face in the course of carrying out this project.
The major issue is trust, so you come and say you want to help. The first thing people think of is, okay, so are you making money? So you want to use us to make money, things like that. So if we have a clean beach, a business like mine can say, okay, we want to do certain things. We can do events, we can do activities, we can encourage investors to come and build beach houses and things like that. So that's the major challenge that we've had.
Beach cleaning isn't the only thing Koyejo and his entire team at Kingfisher Eco are involved in. He explains to us what more can be done in terms of ecotourism across the country.
Beyond trying to just sell tourism as tourism, you can sell it as a way to get solutions. And what I mean by that is a place like Erinjesha, for instance. It's a waterfall. There's a project in Kenya where they have a waterfall as well that is used to generate electricity for the community. Now, it's a tourism destination primarily, but as a tourism destination, it can offer more than just that to the host community.
Convincing people to invest time and other resources into projects like these could be rather difficult. So Koyejo decided to start with pulling in his family and friends first.
It's a family project. Of course, we all buy into the dream, and then it's apart from the fact that it's laudable, it's something he's very passionate about. So, the best we can do is to support with whatever we have. We are the environment. The environment is us. However we treat the environment, we're still going to come back to face the implications. So there's nothing wrong with a group coming to the beach and they have their waste bag as part of the plan.
People in the environment can benefit so much from it in terms of employment for the citizens of the community, in terms of having them to participate in it. Then more development will probably come for them, I believe, in terms of maybe electrification of their community, cleanliness of the environment in particular, and better life.
Clean up the beach is important, and it's not only a few people can do it by themselves. Teamwork is also included. I think it's important to get other people to help clean up the beach because it's necessary to do so.
My work is an expression of who I am, so I'm not sure where it will end, but I think we'll just keep pushing, keep looking for problems we can solve. I think that's the critical part.
On the part of the government, the Lagos State Commissioner of Environment says the state is always willing to partner with private sector when it comes to environmental conservation.
The Ministry of Environment exists for the people. So there has to be public interaction, we have to interact regularly. A lot of brilliant ideas will even come from the public. So those who are employing the Ministry of Environment cannot claim to have monopoly of knowledge. So they are much welcome. Anything that will promote ecotourism, they are most welcome.
Hopefully, with more initiatives like these, our beaches and coastal lines will be cleaner and our tourists will be more sensitive to the environment. Bernard Akede, News Central.
News Central, Simon Ojo is on standby for the latest in entertainment.
Thank you very much. And now to entertainment news. Just last month, America's DJ Khaled appreciated Kenya's Huruma Town kids for recreating a clip of his latest music video, Let It Go, featuring Justin Bieber and 21 Savage. Now today, the kids have done it again, this time by getting featured on CNN, a multinational news-based television channel headquartered in Atlanta, United States. Let's watch this.
A couple of weeks ago, we brought you a story by CNN's Larry Madowo about conservation efforts in Kenya. Well, some very, very talented kids brilliantly reenacted this piece. I want you to look at it.
A hippo getting a break from curious eyes now that the pandemic has stopped most tourists from coming here. He's being tracked along with 1,000 other species. Officials watching closely for an irreversible decline in numbers. It's Kenya's most ambitious conservation effort.
The group is called H-Town Kids. They're based in Nairobi, and they recreate all sorts of things like, for example, music videos and celebrity photos. Larry loved their version so much, saying on Twitter that he couldn't really choose a favorite part between the hippos and the flamingos.
Exceptional work. Now, CNN turned their spotlights on these kids after they perfectly reignited Larry Madowo's conservation story with Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala and conservation efforts. Now, of course, a happy Madowo shared a video with his social media followers stating that he is happy to see CNN shine their spotlights on the young talents. Now, Huruma Town kids are famous for recreating videos and photos as well as imitating famous people in the society, and they've mastered the art. This time, they also posted a behind-the-scenes video to show how they
weather will be like. Let's head to our weather desk. And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the top stories. Zambia's founding president, Kenneth Kaunda, dies at the age of 97. Police fire tear gas as crowds converge to welcome Ivory Coast former president Laurent Gbagbo. And finally, we told you Tanzania is set to join COVAX vaccine sharing facility. Remember to follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also download our mobile app on App Store and Play Store. You can also watch News Central live at StarTimes Channel 274 and IVORY TV Channel 23 on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Genga Aburoa.